There is a rule, written 2,000 years ago by a Roman emperor, that inflation then or now cannot touch. Not a savings account, not a portfolio strategy, not a budgeting template. A rule, principle, one that Marcus Aurelius used to protect himself and his thinking while Rome's entire economy collapsed around him. Right now, your bank account might look roughly the same as last year, but your rent went up. Your food shop costs more. Your energy bill arrived and you just stared at it. You saved. You didn't overspend. And quietly, without doing anything wrong, you got poorer. That is not bad luck. That is a trap that has existed since the Roman Empire. It has a name, and Marcus Aurelius not only named it, he built a two-step system to escape it. The second step is the one that will surprise you. Here is what he figured out. And it starts with the one distinction most people never make about their own money. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations between 161 and 180 AD. He was not writing for posterity. He was not writing to be quoted 2,000 years later on a philosophy channel. He was writing to himself. Private notes. A journal of instructions he needed in order to remain clear-headed while governing the largest empire in the world through plague, war, and economic collapse. Rome in 170 AD was experiencing something economists today would recognize immediately. The empire was spending more than it earned. Previous emperors had quietly mixed silver coins with cheaper metals to produce more currency. Prices rose. Savings lost value. The purchasing power of ordinary Romans shrank year by year. Sound familiar? Marcus Aurelius watched this from the very top. And he wrote something that cuts straight through to the core of the inflation problem. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius Meditations, Book 4. Now, before you interpret that as a motivational poster, let me show you exactly what he meant in financial terms. Because this is a precise technical instruction, not a platitude. Marcus Aurelius identified two categories of things in life. Things inside your control, and things outside your control. Inflation is outside your control. The Bank of England's base rate, outside your control. The Reserve Bank of Australia's next decision, outside your control. What the Canadian government does with its money supply, outside your control. But here is where most people misread this principle, and it is a costly misread. They hear outside your control, and they think, ignore it, don't worry, just be zen about losing money. That is not what Marcus Aurelius meant. Not even close. What he meant was this. Stop spending your mental energy on the existence of inflation. Redirect that energy entirely into the things you can control about how inflation affects you. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. And the name Marcus Aurelius gave to the financial trap you are currently in, the trap inflation sets, was this: Pleonexia, Greek. The insatiable desire for more. The unconscious accumulation of things you think you need but have never actually questioned. And his two-step system to escape it was built on a practice called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Step 1. See clearly what you actually control. Step 2. And this is the one that will surprise you, is something Marcus Aurelius did deliberately, regularly, even when everything was going well. One more thing before I give you the numbers. Because I know exactly what some of you are already thinking. I don't have the luxury of voluntary discomfort. I am already uncomfortable. My bills are already too high. This sounds like philosophy for people who can afford philosophy. That is a completely fair objection. And Marcus Aurelius, a man who could have lived in total luxury, anticipated it. In Meditations Book V he wrote, be honest about what right and true actually mean for you, not for someone else. The Stoic answer to this objection is not try harder or want less. It is more precise. Audit your constraints honestly. Because most people who feel they have no room to cut have never actually looked carefully at where their money goes. Not because they are careless. Because looking carefully is uncomfortable. And the data proves this. Let me stop being philosophical for a moment. Here are the actual numbers. UK right now. The average household spends £147 per month on subscriptions they no longer actively use. That is £1,764 a year leaving your account quietly. Not because inflation took it, but because you chose not to look. Canada, in Toronto and Vancouver, renters are now spending 35 to 40% of take-home pay on accommodation alone. The Bank of Canada's rate cycle has made mortgages that once looked manageable borderline impossible for first-time buyers. Australia, the RBA raised rates 13 times between 2022 and 2024. The average variable mortgage holder is paying nearly $1,500 a month more than they were 2 years ago. These are real numbers, real losses, and every financial influencer on YouTube will tell you the same solution. Buy index funds, put money in gold, diversify your portfolio. That advice is not wrong. But Marcus Aurelius would say it is incomplete. Because here is what most people miss. The inflation that causes the most day-to-day financial damage is not the inflation in the economy. It is the inflation in your own spending, the lifestyle creep, the subscriptions that renewed without you noticing, the upgraded phone because everyone else had one, the restaurant that became a default instead of a treat. This is pleonexia in action, insatiable desire, compounding quietly, making you vulnerable to every external price rise because you have never clearly separated what you need from what you have simply become accustomed to. And this is where step 2 of Marcus Aurelius' system comes in. The one I said would surprise you. He called it Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of adversity. He would deliberately, regularly, imagine his circumstances getting worse, not as an act of pessimism, as preparation. He would eat plain food when he did not have to, sleep simply when comfort was available. Ask himself, if this were taken from me tomorrow, would I be ready? If my income dropped, what would I do? If prices doubled, what would I stop paying for? In modern financial terms, Premeditatio Malorum looks like this. You sit down once, and you answer these questions before the emergency arrives. Not during it, not after it, before. If my cost of living increased 10% next year, what would I cut first? If my income stayed flat for 2 years, what would I stop paying for? If energy prices doubled again, what would I actually do differently? You answer those questions now when there is no pressure so that when inflation moves, you move first. This is not pessimism. This is armor. And here is the line I want you to remember. Inflation can only steal from what you refuse to live without. Most of what inflation targets, the conveniences, the upgrades, the subscriptions, are things you chose to become dependent on. Things you never examined. When you know clearly what you need and what you merely want, inflation loses most of its power over you. Here is your one action this week. Not a list. One thing. This week, set a timer for 20 minutes. Open your bank app or your last 3 months of statements, and run a Stoic Audit. Write down every recurring payment leaving your account, every subscription, every direct debit, every standing order. Next to each one, write one word, need or want. Not, it is useful. Not, I might use it. Not, it is not that much. 2 options only, need or want. If it is a want, you now have a choice. Marcus Aurelius did not say you must cancel it. He said you must see it clearly. Because the moment you see it clearly, you have power over it. Inflation can only take what you cannot see. If you do nothing else from this video, that 20-minute audit, done honestly, will likely find you between £50 and £150 or dollars per month that you can redirect on your terms. Not inflation's terms. Yours. That is the rule inflation cannot touch. Not an investment. Not a product. Practice. Marcus Aurelius governed the largest empire in the world. He faced plague, war, and an economy in active decline. He did not emerge from that unscathed, but he emerged clear. He knew what he controlled. He acted only there, and he prepared for adversity before it arrived, which is the only reason it never destroyed him. Inflation is real. The pressure on your finances right now is real. But the part of that problem you can actually act on is bigger than most people think. And it starts with 20 minutes and a notebook. If you want the full framework, all 7 Stoic money principles, not just these 2, the free Stoic money guide is linked below. 10 minutes to read. It will change how you think about every financial decision you make. One question before you go. What is the one subscription you already know you should have canceled months ago? Drop it in the comments. You are not the only one. If this made you think differently about inflation, subscribe. New video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.